Russell Gahagan back at you with another video today. Today I want to talk a little bit about an important tip that I think is really critical for everybody, but especially for guys that don't live near Lake Michigan or Lake Ontario. If you live a little bit away from the lake, hour drive, and you're commuting each trip to the lake, or if you're planning a long-term trip, maybe you're looking at the weather next week to see if you want to maybe head a couple hours from home for fishing. One of the biggest mistakes I see here in owning the tackle store is I'll get a ton of calls every day all summer long. What's the lake look like today? How's the weather? And a lot of the days, the weather's pretty obvious here, but I understand that it's not necessarily obvious where they're at, half an hour west of here, or an hour west of here, or north of here. So the really important thing is when you're looking at the weather, you need to be looking at marine weather. That's the key. So there's two things that I think I can give you as a tip that will really help you get an understanding of how to figure out what the weather really is going to do on Lake Michigan or on Lake Ontario or whatever, instead of what it's going to do 20 miles, 30 miles, 300 miles inland, because it's very, very different. It's even very different 20 miles inland from Lake Michigan than it is on the lakeshore, for sure. So the first step is, at least on Lake Michigan here and out of Sheboygan and quite a few of the ports, there is a wind meter on the end of our lighthouse. So if you go on Yahoo or Google and you search NOAA, NOAA, NOAA is like a weather deal, and you search NOAA Sheboygan Station, it'll pop up with some numbers and letters. I believe it's like SG something is the code for the Sheboygan Station, the wind meter at the end of the Sheboygan Lighthouse. And that will allow you to click on that, and you'll be able to see the current wind speed, the wind speed for the last several hours, which will tell you for the most part what the lake's going to be like. Even if the wind speed's down right now, but you're looking for the last 3 hours, the wind's been blowing pretty hard, the lake's probably pretty rough. Or vice versa. If there isn't much wind right now, but the forecast says it's going to blow for a bit, it can also be rough. And on that same page, there is a near shore forecast that gives you, I think a day and a half maybe of future weather forecasts. And it generally says something like, southeast winds at 10 to 15 miles an hour, gust to 20 or whatever, waves 1 to 3 feet, building to 3 to 5 feet overnight. So that's a marine forecast, and will give you a real good idea of what the lake is like at the exact moment and what the lake is going to be like. Again, it doesn't have a current on that particular station. It doesn't have a current wave height because it's on the end of the pier, but there is a forecast that can help you with that. And there's a lot of those. There's one in Port Washington. I think there's one in Kewaunee, might be in Algoma. There's one, I think, down in Racine. So a lot of the harbors have it. Just figure out which harbor has it closest to where you're going to fish, either out of your harbor or the next harbor over, so you get a real idea where that's at. And then I think the second one that's even just as important, but much more important for future, is you can use that NOAA, like I just mentioned, for their forecast. Or a lot of people have on their phone a app for forecast. But the big thing is you want a marine one. One of the ones that I've used over the years is SailFlow. There's another one called Windfinder. There's a bunch of them now. But the big thing is you want to get a marine forecast for the area where you're going to be. So, here for me, here would be Sheboygan on Lake Michigan. And you want to, get a actual, a marine forecast for right on the water. So being the name SailFlow, that's designed primarily for the marine industry. Windfinder has a marine portion for the wind, and those are important because they're taking those readings right on the lakeshore, and they're making their estimations based on the lakeshore. Again, like I said, I've seen this living a couple of blocks for most of my childhood growing up from the lake, and then now living just a little bit inland from the lake, but being down on the lake every day. I live maybe 10 to 15 blocks west of the lake at my house, and it actually can be 10 mile an hour different at my house than it is right here at the shop down on the water. So just walking outside my door and looking at what the trees are doing might not give me a great real indication. And then even the bigger one is what I see a lot is 10 miles inland, the wind might be west or southwest, and you get down the lake and it's southeast. And that's very different on the wave conditions, a southeast wind versus a southwest wind or west wind. So you want to make sure that you get the updated report on what's going on in the water right now, wind-wise, and what's going to be going on in the water future-wise. So if you're going to make a plan to make a trip, fishing over the course of the next few days or the next week, you're going to want to use that wind finder, that SailFlow app, or NOAA to make that plan. And then, of course, if you're going to head there before you actually hook the boat up and pull out of your driveway, I'd suggest that you look up on NOAA that, wind on the end of the pier, and that'll tell you exactly what's going on. So that's a great tip here for you today to help you spend more time fishing and less time wasted. Good luck and good fishing.